Although rebuilding is usually a slow process, there are always exceptions. Some teams are able to start from a better starting point through good management, and the Portland Trail Blazers are the most recent example in the NBA. After the most dramatic summer for the franchise in the last decade, Damian Lillard finally put an end to his time in Portland. A superstar who has always shown loyalty to a team that has not been able to properly surround him. But after losing arguably the best player in Blazers history along with Clyde Drexler, Portland faces a rebuild from a very optimistic position. In fact, you could say that in some ways, they're only missing one piece. And that has been thanks to the work of Blazers GM Joe Cronin, who, taking advantage of Lillard's desire to leave the franchise, has secured a big haul of assets in exchange for his superstar. In a three-way trade, Portland got DeAndre Ayton, Toumani Camara, Jrue Holiday, and a first-round draft pick from Milwaukee, in addition to 2 swipe rights, and who was then able to trade Jrue Holiday back to the Boston Celtics in exchange for Malcolm Brogdon, Robert Williams, and 2 other first-round draft picks. A series of trades that put the team with a wealth of available assets in the form of players, and that has recouped virtually all of the draft rights it invested during the Damian Lillard era. In addition, they used the point guard's injury to tank during last season to get a replacement with enormous potential. Scoot Henderson is the most valuable piece the Blazers have. The 6'2" point guard who played last season for the Ignite in the G League is a unique athletic prodigy and a prospect who probably would have been a clear #1 draft pick in most classes in recent years. There were some doubts about his selection due to potential compatibility issues between Lillard and Henderson, as both players are ball dominant. But the star's departure to Milwaukee has come at the right time to hand the keys to the offense to the #3 pick in the recent 2023 draft. Precisely his backcourt partner will be a player who will offer a completely different profile than Scoot. Anfernee Simons has been showing a huge leap in quality for 2 consecutive seasons, a rare case of a late bloomer who has shown great efficiency in long-range shooting in a high volume of attempts. While Simons is not exactly a playmaker, he has made great progress in this aspect of his game over the past few seasons. In addition, the arrival of Malcolm Brogdon, who, although he could still be traded, looks like he will eventually play for the team, could help him develop to the next level. But the Blazers will have even more potential in the starting 5. Expect the starting small forward spot to be filled by Shaedon Sharpe. At 6'6" inches, he may be a bit undersized for the position, but his athleticism may allow him to defend bigger players. The Canadian is one of the most promising players in the league, and he will finally get his chance in a much less pressured environment. A player with the potential to be efficient from all 3 levels, and who could be ready for that increased responsibility at just 20 years old. Hopefully, the starting power forward spot will be filled by Jerami Grant. After signing a $150 million extension for the next 5 seasons, we expect him to get his fair share of shots next season as well. Grant is a two-way player who came into the league as a defensive specialist, but has been polishing his offensive game to the point where he is averaging 20 points a night on 40% three-point shooting. It is true that there have been trade rumors surrounding him, as his re-signing seemed at first an attempt to keep Damian Lillard happy. But at just 28 years old, Jerami can be one of the locker room leaders going forward for the Blazers project. And at the center position, it's clear the Trail Blazers are going to use the 6'11" inches big from the Bahamas, DeAndre Ayton, the second big name of the trade for Damian Lillard, who didn't seem too happy with his role with the Phoenix Suns. The offensive arsenal of the Arizona team did not allow him to get the role that he will have in Portland. And considering that many people consider him to be one of the top 5 players at his position in the league, it is to be expected that his impact will be increased statistically. A very complete player on both sides, who will undoubtedly be the interior reference of the Billups scheme. The good news is that Ayton's replacement, who will also be able to play minutes next to him on some occasions, will be Robert Williams. The 25-year-old has arrived in Portland in the Jrue Holiday trade and will be an excellent rebounder and defender off the bench. And it will certainly be a luxury to have such a player for the rotation in a team that theoretically is rebuilding. Robert Williams will play the role of defensive anchor, so the Blazers will always have a defensive specialist under the rim to protect the paint even with Ayton off the floor. But he will not be the only one, as Portland will have Matisse Thybulle on the perimeter. The Australian has been one of the best defensive players in the league throughout his career, with great reflexes and an incredible ability to move between the screens. However, his limited offensive potential means that having him on the court can cause problems. He is not a player who can open up the court with his outside shot, in a similar fashion to Andre Roberson with the Oklahoma City Thunder. However, he is a player who can come in handy in certain game situations, and he is still young enough to polish his offensive arsenal. In addition, the Blazers will have another complete player who also has experience in the league. Malcolm Brogdon has been a solid defensive player throughout his career, who has also been able to develop into a great offensive player. He is able to generate for himself and his teammates, and last season he scored 44% of the three-pointers he attempted. However, he is a player who has lost much of his market value due to injuries. There were a lot of rumors about his departure from Portland, as the franchise could use his value to cash in on some more assets. But the trend of valuing him downward, coupled with Portland's need for a backup point guard, has resulted in him starting the season with the team. Forwards Jabari Walker and Chris Murray could be the final pieces to round out the rotation. A sophomore and a rookie, respectively, will have the opportunity to get minutes in a quality team and could be surprised with their performance to enter the future plans of the head coach. It is clear that entering the playoffs this season seems too ambitious a goal for the Blazers. However, it is likely that Portland already has most of the necessary pieces in place to eventually become one of the best teams in the West. This is thanks to the youth of their roster, which with players like Scoot and Sharp elevates the potential of a team that may just need maturity to pay off. But these Blazers find themselves in a tougher Western Conference than ever. The Nuggets, Suns, Lakers, Clippers, Grizzlies, Warriors, and Kings should be teams capable of qualifying for the playoffs next season, leaving only one spot for up-and-coming projects like the Thunder or Pelicans, or teams that can already compete like the Mavericks or Timberwolves. That already adds up to 11 teams. And as if that weren't enough, the rest of the Western projects are not exactly deserted. The Spurs just got Wemby, the Jazz are trying to surround Markkanen with the right pieces, and the Rockets have made a big investment to try to accelerate their rebuild. But Portland has done a great job. Many people have not yet realized that the roster, despite having traded away their best player, already has a lot of quality at all positions, and even more depth than teams that a priori are superior. So it would not be strange that, if the Blazers manage to have a good season and perhaps add one more piece to their roster, the project could be ready to compete much sooner than anyone imagines.